So this is a weekly thing where we break down all the shit that's been going on in the prior week, and yeah, it's never good, but here we are.
No, it's always depressing, although we try to get lighthearted at the end if we can find something to get lighthearted about. It's called Leftist Lens. I'm Matt, that's James.
Howdy, howdy.
This is episode 28.
Yes, indeed.
That's 6 months of episodes, bud.
You know, this is a testament to perseverance. It's not yet a testament to success, but it's a testament to perseverance.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just dive into the misogynist shit show that society is today.
All right, we're going to talk about Harrison Butker, the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm sure most of you have probably seen his commencement speech at Benedictine College. Interesting note, I recently found out he gave, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, almost the exact same speech at Georgia Tech, and we didn't hear about it. So I find that interesting. But anyway, yeah, he called Pride Month evil. He told women who were graduating from college that they've been lied to and that they shouldn't have careers. They should just be wives and mothers.
His mother is a medical physicist at Emory University.
Yeah.
He hates his mother.
I wonder if she's proud of him.
I didn't know who this guy was until this came out a couple days ago, and I didn't even know who he was in terms of what his career is until you just said it. Because I don't follow sports, and he looks like a tool.
Yeah, I do follow sports, but I don't know the names of any kickers really because they're not that important. They're just the kicker. So, yeah, I didn't know him by name either, or sight for that matter. But what scared me is because of the algorithm on TikTok being so good and only showing you people mostly that agree with you. You come to think that you see all these Gen Z creators on there that are leftists, and you're like, oh, this is great. And then you see the protests, which are young people, protesting on leftist ideology sometimes. You're like, wow, they're really going to change the world. And then you realize all these students at Benedictine College, they're Gen Z too. And they cheered his dumbass speech. So,
I mean, it's no different than, and I agree with how disheartening that is and how that feels, but it's really not much different than take the female segment of the population. You got women who are fighting for basic bodily autonomy, and women right next to them who are gargling Republican balls. And
yeah,
there's no cookie cutter approach to any segment of the population, but it is. I mean, we are kind of relying on Gen Z to salvage whatever wreckage we're leaving to them, and they're going to have their own internal battles with that, just like we do in every other segment, I think. But yeah, I get it.
So, just on another note, he belongs to a sect of Catholicism that advocates for the Mass to be in Latin and wants to return to traditional values and stuff.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's where his misogyny and all that bullshit comes from. But and I do believe that his parents were, your normal Catholics, and he split off into this far right sect. But what's interesting is the Pope is going to be on 60 Minutes this weekend, and there was a clip already where he rails against conservatives. So that's going to be interesting because the conservative sect of Catholicism, they already don't like the Pope. They're really not going to like the Pope now.
Well, but was he railing that conservatives, as he labels them, are not conservative enough? Or
No, he was saying conservatives like to hold on to things. I mean, he's speaking in Italian, or I don't know what language he speaks. But the subtitle said, this was just on the ad for 60 Minutes. The subtitle said, conservatives just like to hold on to things and never change, and that's not good, and stuff like that. So
wow.
We'll see. I mean, you have to see his whole speech to know where he's really coming from.
He's a religious fundamentalist.
Yeah.
None of them are any good.
Pope or Harrison Butker?
Yeah, both. But yeah,
they're
There's nothing redeeming about any of that.
No. Well, anyway, that was a terrible speech, and he's not going to face any consequences. Doesn't look like his team doesn't seem to care.
Of course not.
The NFL did release a statement saying his views were not their own, but the team, the Kansas City Chiefs that he plays for, did no such thing. So,
I want to see somebody corner who I don't know who's the most prominent person on that team by name. I obviously couldn't tell you, but I want to see
Patrick
somebody.
Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
Okay.
So that's another interesting thing. He did mention Taylor Swift and criticized her in his speech, and she is dating Travis Kelce, his teammate.
I had seen secondhand that he quoted one of her songs to bolster his point, but the song that he was quoting was a song ostensibly about a woman being successful and telling men to get the fuck out of her way.
Yeah.
So, well, okay. So back to my point, though, is that I would like to see somebody corner Mahomes or Travis Kelce and say, "Hey, what's your view on this guy's rhetoric?" And
okay, that happened. Patrick Mahomes was on the crap, I can't think of his name. The punter for the Colts that has a podcast that's really popular, and he's on ESPN now. I know his name, but I'm blanking on it right now. But anyway, he has a podcast that's really popular, and he had Patrick Mahomes on this week and asked him about it. And Patrick Mahomes' response was, "Oh, I don't really talk to him. I just let him do his thing." That's all he had to say about it.
played it safe. But Mahomes is quarterback, right?
Yep.
Okay, I know that name because that was the guy that Rush Limbaugh vilified for achieving quarterback status, saying that he only got the position because he was black. I remember that Rush Limbaugh controversy. That was some shit.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah.
That does sound like something that Rush Limbaugh would have said, though.
Fucking
Rotten
maggot.
Hall, Rush. Don't miss you one bit.
So I've seen, moving on to Jasmine Crockett, I've seen the clips of her exchanges on that committee for whatever that hearing was, and the exchanges with the other lawmakers. But I also saw her grilling the fuck out of that Project 2025 douchebag that was testifying.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to talk about that because I didn't see that. But her exchange with Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yes.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene said they were arguing about something, and Marjorie Taylor Greene said her fake eyelashes probably made it hard for her to read or something.
Oh, fucking God.
And then Jasmine Crockett tried to follow the rules and asked for the chairman of the committee to strike her words, asked Marjorie Taylor Greene to retract her words, and they wouldn't do it. So then she said, okay, fine. I mean, she tried that for a while. And then she's like, fine, if you're not going to retract your words, then I'm going to go down to her level. And she called her a bleach blonde, bad-built butch body.
Play by their rules. If they're not going to play by the agreed upon established rules, and the people that govern those rules aren't going to hold people to that standard, then fuck it. Play by their fucking rules.
I'm generally against personal attacks for anything. Like, I don't like it when liberals attack Trump for, not being able to hold water and stuff like that. That has nothing to do with, that's not the worst thing about him. I mean, there's so much you can criticize him for. Yep. The words that come out of his mouth and the thoughts in his fucking head. You don't need to attack his physical ailments, and I don't like any of that, except for old. I don't mind saying he's too old to be president, because I want to say that about Biden too. But
well, yeah, that's a feature that directly impacts their ability to effectively govern and relate to people. So yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and I think mental, like dementia and mental problems, are fair game too. But just physical ailments, everybody has those.
Yeah.
Across all political spectrums, there's no need to attack those. But in the case of Jasmine Crockett against Marjorie Taylor Greene, if you can't get them to take their words back, and that's what they're going to do to you, just go ahead, give it back to them. It's good TV, good theater. I like it.
See, I was watching another clip of it was a different legislator. It was that fucking pretend hillbilly Kennedy guy that pretends to have that accent. You know who I'm talking about, the older guy.
Yeah. I mean, the Kennedy.
Yeah.
The senator. I can't think of his name. But
yeah.
Chubby cheeks and
fucking foghorn leghorn motherfucker.
Yeah.
if you take it's a double-edged sword, but if you take the cameras out of these Senate hearings would go very differently.
Oh yeah.
They're all just fucking playing to the cameras. Get those fucking cameras out. But then we don't have transparency. I think transcripts would suffice, but get these fucking cameras out of the Senate chambers, out of oh, I mean, to me it just makes it a fucking clown show. That wouldn't be.
Well, but here's the thing. So yeah, it makes the Republicans act like idiots and makes it into a clown show because they want sound bites. But I mean, I want the government to be open. I guess I just want the people that see the Republicans acting the way they do to see them the way we see them. You know what I mean? The problem is that a lot of the populace sees the Republicans acting like assholes like that, and they love it. That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, if you were really going to expose the actual personalities in Congress, you would find a way to see how they act away from the camera lens, where they're patting each other on the back and they're having lunch together and they're laughing about shit together, because the shit that they do that is supposedly them being at odds with each other isn't mostly the case, and that's mostly for the cameras. That these motherfuckers are all in bed together for the most part.
I remember Jeff Jackson making a TikTok about it before we all hated him.
Yeah, I remember that.
He mentioned that how they're all friendly when they're not on camera.
Yep. But yeah,
Well,
you're right.
that just goes to show that the Democrats are just as bad. They don't perform in the camera, but they have no problem giving legitimacy to the Republican arguments about everything.
Yep.
But I don't know. I like Jasmine Crockett. I had never heard of her. She represents Dallas in the House. She's a freshman congresswoman.
Yeah, she's definitely making a name for herself, and she'll suffer the consequences for that. I don't, I hope that she has some upward mobility and she maintains integrity throughout this process and doesn't become another, what is it, AOC, where AOC was supposed to be the darling of the leftists, and as she was pressed on more things, she's turned out to be much less than that. So hopefully this young lady tears it up.
Yeah, AOC did change. I assume she got bought by some lobbyist.
Oh, she did. She got bought by fucking APAC.
Yeah.
Well, but okay, I've said this before because somebody made me aware of it. She's representing her constituency, and that's what we expect people to do. Her constituency is a lot of Zionists. And if that's so here's what I don't understand. Remember when Hillary Clinton ran for some New York Senate seat, became a New York senator?
Yeah.
She had no fucking affiliation with that district whatsoever. I don't even think they only just started living there when she ran.
Like while the campaign was going on, they bought a house.
I thought that was really fucking weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Mitt Romney. He was the governor of Massachusetts, and now he's a senator in Utah. Like,
I didn't even realize that. I mean, I know what he's been and what he is, but I didn't even think of that in the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you like to think that your politicians are entrenched in a district and they know the people well, and they are in fact representing them. Not that they can just go anywhere and.
Yeah, they go where they've got the best. Yeah, they go where they've got the best shot to remain in power.
Yeah. I don't believe that's how it was intended, but of course, when they created our system of government, travel wasn't so easy, so people didn't just do that. You couldn't do that in the 1780s. But
yeah, that's a good point.
So I definitely don't think that's how it was intended. But here we are. Anyway, all right. I know Michael Cohen testified. I don't know much about it. I didn't read anything really. I read one headline that said that he bungled some testimony about a phone call But since then, I read that the prosecutors were happy with his testimony and that they were going to rest their case, or did they rest their case? I don't know. I was out of the loop on that
I
this
think they
week.
did, and the final synopsis I saw on it from, I can't remember the source, but they did acknowledge that Cohen. Hold on, let me mute this page. That Cohen, ended his testimony, and it was more of a win for the prosecution than it was for that the defense tried to sink him, but they failed to do that. So I think it's a net positive for the prosecution.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, he literally did time in prison for this. So, it
Yeah,
really
yeah,
feels
yeah.
like if it was a crime for him, it's a crime for Trump too. Feels like. All right. Anything else about Trump? I've not been paying attention. Oh, they agreed to a debate, and the it's in June. Trump and Biden, and I don't really know how this happened, but Biden got all the stuff that he wanted. They're gonna cut mics off. There's not gonna be an audience.
Oh, good.
I don't know how he got Trump to agree to that, to be honest.
I think Trump's going to back out of it. I think he'll back out of it. I don't see it happening.
Yeah. Well, they agreed to two debates, but all with the Democrat rules. So I don't know. Because Trump doesn't debate. He just,
So
mumbles
I'm
bullshit.
I'm not I'm not pretending to know anything on this, but I'm going to go back to 2020, 2019. And I said very clearly in 2019 when Biden won that election, I said there's no way in hell Trump's going to show up at the inauguration. He's not going to do it. Nobody fucking agreed with me. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's impossible. It's a break from tradition." Blah blah blah. I said Trump's not going to be at that fucking inauguration, and he wasn't. So I don't think that these debates are going to happen. I don't know, but by
Yeah.
June, okay, June's not that far away. Fuck, June's not that far away.
No.
I wonder if this New York criminal trial is going to be wrapped up by then. I don't know how much longer, how many more witnesses there are, or what.
Well, if the prosecution rested, it's the defense gets their case. The defense's case is usually less because they already got to cross-examine all the witnesses the prosecution brought.
Oh, so we're
I don't know.
close.
Yeah, we're very close. That'll be
Okay.
in the jury's hands, I would guess, within a week.
Ah. Okay.
But then sentencing could be months after. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean that happens all the time. The jury that I was on was in March, and the sentencing was at the end of May, so it was 2.5 months later. Was his sentencing?
And
I know that because I wrote it down because I was interested to see what he got.
is the sentencing carried out by the jury or by the judge? Decided by the jury or the judge?
By the judge, and as far as I know, that's everywhere. I don't think there's juries that do sentencing in any state, but I suppose states could be different.
Huh.
But as far as I know, the judges impose sentences universally, as far as I know.
I've seen cases though where juries either recommend sentence and then the
Yeah,
judge
juries can do, like in death penalty cases, they can recommend the death penalty or not, and they can also choose from different crimes. Like they might charge with first-degree murder and second-degree murder, and the jury can choose one or the other, which affects the sentencing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But it's still the judge that does the sentence for whatever one you convict them for.
Gotcha.
Not a lawyer. You know what? All these other podcasts I listen to, they say stuff like that, and then they say, allegedly, in my opinion, like every other sentence. We never do that. Are we gonna get sued someday?
Yeah.
Allegedly, in my opinion, not financial advice.
Yeah, I'm definitely relying on us getting in some legal trouble at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, but Michael Cohen is is a predictable, useful idiot. There was never anything I thought was going to come out of his testimony that was going to be particularly earth-shattering or any revelations. I did like the initial exchange that he had with the defense attorney, where I don't remember which defense attorney it was, but he was saying, "You and I have never met, correct?" And Cohen was, that's correct. And he says, "But you called me a crybaby bitch on Twitter, right?" And Cohen's response was, "Yeah, that sounds like something I would say." And the judge fucking like, "Strike that from the record." So that was predictable and delightful. But
that reminds me, I don't remember where it was, but there was a video I saw of some judge asking some lawyer that said, "You used to be a lawyer for Trump, right?" And he said, "Yes." And she said, "And you still have your bar card?"
Yeah, I saw that too.
I don't remember what the context was or who that was. I just thought it was funny.
That wasn't that Jasmine Crockett that said that?
Oh, maybe it was.
I think it was. Yeah, so it was a Senate hearing. Yeah. Oh my God. Because she had to repeat the question about you still have your bar card because they were like, "What?" Yeah. Fucking idiots. Oh my God. Well, okay, segueing into Israel now. Here's my piece about this, because it's the same thing that's been going on. And we can talk about the minutia of that. But I sit back today and I look at the energy behind the opposition to what Israel's doing and what the United States is supporting, and I am pleased to announce my assessment that the energy has not faded. The energy has not, and that's a pretty remarkable thing for something that's been going on as long as this has been going on, that the momentum has increased, the energy behind the protests have increased, the scope of the opposition and the protests, and the moral fortitude behind all of that has only increased. It hasn't decreased. That's a big deal, I think.
Yeah, and obviously there was a assessment by celebrities, PR people, when that celebrity blockout thing started going on, and they said, "You know what? There's enough people, that want to ceasefire stuff that you should probably join that side." So,
yeah, I wasn't expecting.
The only one I saw was Eric Andre, who's Jewish, by the way, and I saw him on TikTok. He came on my For You page last night, and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna speak up." And then he said, "We want a ceasefire." And then he went on to post, I'm sure you've seen people posting GoFundMe's for various Palestinians that are trying to escape. He did one of those too. I always liked Eric Andre, so I'm glad that he took that step. But I've seen other people on TikTok talking about other celebrities. I can't really name any of them right now, who have all of a sudden decided to make posts about it.
Yeah, and I didn't expect this to work that way, because my criticism of that approach was that if you're, I understand the emotional impetus to go out and block celebrity creators who are being purposely obtuse about this, but if they aren't somebody that you already follow and you're seeking out their accounts to block them, you're boosting their algorithm by seeking out their account. You're not really hurting their algorithm by blocking them. That may still be true, but the fact that PR people are seeing this and they're concerned about how that's going to impact their revenue streams is something I didn't expect to see happen. So,
well, what that just confirms to me that the movement is big. It's big enough.
Yeah.
That because what side you pick is going to alienate a large number of people.
Yep.
That's why they were saying nothing, because they were trying not to alienate people. But then they realized by saying nothing, you are alienating a lot of people, and it was enough people that saying nothing became not a choice.
Yeah.
And that's good news, I think.
And I've seen several, and this is of course in my own fucking echo chamber, but several big creators, big verified creators that I've followed for a long time that do content that has nothing to do with politics, have come out and stated their support for divestment from Israel and and the end of U.S. support for Israel, stated it very clearly. A couple of those, one guy's name is Dexter, and he does mostly like biology and science stuff. And then the other one is a guy named Kit Lazar, which does movie reviews.
Movies.
Yeah. He's come out and stated very clearly where he stands on this issue. So
he also revealed to us recently that he's completely bald.
Yeah, I saw that.
He always wears a hat. There's someone in this podcast that always wears a hat too.
Yeah, well, I've shaved my head before, and I would happily go back to doing that. I'll insert a picture here in the podcast of me with the shaved head, and then people can vote whether or not I should go back to that.
Nope.
Yeah, so I think that reflects the ongoing momentum toward the pressure about this. And I think that momentum also has something to do with Biden's hypocritical and antithetical position that he stated lately about stopping shipments to Israel, because he hasn't really stopped shipments to Israel, but he made a statement to make it look like he was wagging his finger at Netanyahu to keep him out of Rafa. Because the rest of what he did was okay, though. But
they withheld. What he actually did was withhold some of those 2,000-pound bombs that we had talked about before, because those are bombs we won't use because they're too destructive. And those were scheduled to be shipped to Israel, and he decided not to ship those. But then a week later, other weapons were still flowing freely. So.
Well, let me segue into this then, because this was not last night but the night before. So I work with two other guys. They're both, one's active duty Army, the other one is retired Air Force. So I work with these guys on my shift. But we also had 4 other guys from another contract in the building all night with us working on another system who we don't know. We don't talk to them, but they're like within earshot. So one of the 2 guys I work with, his name is John. Genuinely nice guy. He, out of the blue, asked a question about what is this Israel deal? What is going on there? Because both these guys were relatively clueless about anything to do with this, which shocked me on its own. And so John is like throwing these questions out into the room, and nobody's responding. And I'm hoping that nobody responds because I think the response that he would get from the majority of people in the room at that moment would be the usual U.S. rah, 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 we love Israel type of thing. But because nobody responded, I decided to chime in. So I held court for about an hour and a half, spewing my rhetoric. And I gave the entire history of Palestine and Israel and U.S. support for and Zionism and the Nakba and Netanyahu and everything. And the entire time, John was the only one. Everybody's listening, by the way. John's the only one asking clarifying questions. I sent him links to every fucking article I could find, from Amnesty International to anything else I could find. And he was genuinely disgusted with the revelations he had about the big picture with all this, where it came from, where it started, why it's still supported by the U.S., and not to mention the amount of money that we're sending to Ukraine and Israel when people here are suffering in our borders. So I think I put him on the precipice of a paradigm shift, because he admitted that he said, I've always been a Republican because I've been in the military, and the Republican Party supports the military. And boy, did I jump on that. I said, look up the legislation. Look up any bill that is purported to be of benefit to veterans, and look at what the voting composition is on those bills. And I think you're going to be pretty surprised to realize that Republicans don't really support veterans. They support the war machine because it benefits them, because they own stock in all the fucking companies that produce the war machine's tools. But they don't support the veterans. And so I think I put this guy in and I'm still sending him articles, by the way.
I mean, Republicans are literally out loud saying they want to get rid of the VA.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, and I don't know if I had an impact on anybody else in the room because nobody else really interacted, but they were listening. But John is definitely on the teetering point of challenging his own thinking, which I didn't expect that 2 nights ago. I just showed up to work and was doing my job, and there was an opening, and I kicked the door open. But
Now, can I share a conspiracy theory here?
sure.
All right, I don't know this to be true, but I feel like it is. As you know, we don't have conscription here in the United States. We fill our military ranks with volunteers. Um, I don't know if a lot of people understand that most countries do have conscription. Canada does, Germany does, Korea does. Where everybody spends 2 years in the military, and we don't do that. So they have to get volunteers. It has to be enticing, and going to die in wars isn't that enticing. People join for other reasons, like
Education.
they're poor
Yeah.
and they need a job, or they need health care, or they want education that they can't afford. So the conspiracy theory is our government, Democrats and Republicans alike, make education unaffordable, make us poor, prevent universal health care just to keep those enticements to keep the military ranks full.
I think that's entirely feasible. That's true.
And right now they're having a real hard time. Recruiting is way, way down, and people are as poor as they've ever been. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I
think
mean, it's not working anymore. Whatever. It's not working anymore.
Well-
I mean, I was in the Army. I didn't join the Army because I was poor and needed any of that stuff. I joined the Army because I was rudderless. I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and I had failed out of college because, I just didn't know what to do. And I just happened to get a recruiter that just called me when I wasn't doing anything with my life. I was like, yeah, why not? So that's how I ended up. But I did take advantage of the free education, and I'm using the free healthcare now, and all that stuff. So there are benefits to it, but I don't think I would want to join today either.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of
now.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people who share your view on. I mean, that's why recruitment is down. And when it gets down to a certain, I'm sure that they've got a threshold for each branch. That if each branch for X number of periods doesn't meet their recruitment goals by a certain number, that you're going to. I don't think it's a leap to say, because we've had registration for selective service since I was in high school. So everybody's registered for it, which is stupid,
Right.
because they already know who you are. They know where you are. This registration shit is stupid.
Well, they do now, but I don't know that they did in the 70s, 80s.
No,
I
they
don't know
didn't.
that
They didn't. But, we had a draft.
I mean, I graduated from high school in 1996, and all the senior males were gathered into a room and given registration cards by the school.
Yeah. Yeah,
in
that's how I
1996,
graduated.
so-
I graduated in '84. It was the same thing. But I think that the politicians that are in bed with the military have a threshold, and they probably already have legislation written that we don't know about, that they would toss into the process to say, okay, males between the ages of 18 and 35 or whatever, are now automatically doing military service. Fucking conscription. I don't think it's a stretch that they would kick that in.
No, and like if we get into a war, an actual war, I would be shocked if we don't have the draft instituted. I would, because I don't really know how low the numbers are. I know there's pressure. All the branches have the lowest recruiting numbers they've ever had.
And I think I would hope that what would happen in response to that from the population in general, of course, you're going to have pockets of people who are these fucking hillbillies who are like, hoorah, yeah, let's go. And they're going to go in there and fuck shit up. But I think that the opposition and resistance and pushback against that, if they kicked that in from the majority of the population, would be enormous.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I would actually love to see that, because I think that might be an impetus for the change we really need. That really could be. I mean, that would outrage so many people.
Yeah. 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 You're right. Yeah. Oh fuck. I can't even imagine. I have not thought about this, but I hear the shit about recruitment numbers every fucking day at work, and I don't know. It would be a fucking game changer if they had to fuck with us on that level. Oof.
All
Nasty
right.
to think about it. So, Greg Abbott.
Yeah. Piece of shit, Greg Abbott, allegedly, in my opinion.
Fucking God.
Yeah. So yeah, during the Black Lives Matter protests, an Air Force veteran was shot and killed by an Army vet, actually, when he drove his truck into the middle of the protests and then rolled down his window and shot someone who came to his window and killed him. He was arrested. Now, when this was going on trial, Greg Abbott tried to get the charges dropped.
Yeah, I remember that.
Didn't work. The prosecution went ahead with the case. He was convicted. He was sentenced. I believe that was just about a year ago. So he spent about a year in prison. And now Greg Abbott has pardoned him. So what that tells me is, in Texas at least, but probably all the other red states, you can kill protesters and it's not a crime.
It's open season. Now,
and that's scary.
What I saw is that Greg Abbott did this upon the recommendation of the Pardons and Parole Board. So the Pardons and Parole Board.
That's how the law is in Texas. They don't let the governor just pardon by himself. It has to go through the Pardons and Parole Board. But those are, his people too. I mean, there's.
Yeah. So the prison system in Texas is pro-criminal.
I think they're pro-white criminal, probably.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'm pretty sure they're not pro all the criminals.
Yeah. Oh boy, if this guy was a person of color that shot a black,
there's no way he would have been pardoned.
Yeah,
if he was,
no
way.
Fuck.
There's one thing you can count on with Republicans: it's racism.
God damn.
All right.
Is Texas? Is the governor's seat up for election in Texas this fall?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look because I fucking hate Greg Abbott.
Yeah, I hate him too, but he's popular in Texas. I don't know. I just remember when Beto O'Rourke very nearly unseated Ted Cruz.
Yeah. 2026 is the next governor election in Texas. So no.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, Beto O'Rourke very nearly unseated Ted Cruz, but didn't. And then every national election I've seen out of Texas since then, the Republicans won handily. So I don't know if that was because people that really wanted, marginalized groups that probably came out and voted for Beto O'Rourke were disheartened that he didn't win, and then they haven't been showing up to vote in subsequent elections. I don't really know, but that seems like a plausible explanation. We do know that voter turnout is low. That's the thing. In this country, they get excited when voter turnout gets to like 40 or 50%.
Gets up to or gets down to?
Gets up to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not usually that high. And if it gets that high, they're like, oh my God, voter turnout was outstanding. No, it isn't. 50% is fucking terrible.
Yep.
It's terrible. Fucking vote, people. Vote in your local elections too. Vote in the primaries too. You don't like the candidates that you see on the national election, it's because you didn't vote in the primary. There were other people on that primary ballot. You didn't vote.
All right. So let me insert this then, because this has to do with a point that I made earlier in the week. In terms of voting third party, I don't think any of us who are intending to vote for any third party candidate actually thinks our candidate can win. I think if you believe that, you're not really paying attention. However, it's not going to dissuade most of us from voting for a third party candidate. I don't think any third party candidate that is running actually thinks they can win. That's not dissuading them from running. I think, and I got a lot of flack for this, I think the best case scenario for what can happen for the next few, even if we have more elections after this one, I'm not sure we're gonna, but if we do, is that any third party candidate, and when I say that, I mean third, fourth, and fifth party, however many there need to be, the best case scenario for what they do is that they pull enough electoral votes from the Democrat and Republican candidate so that neither one achieves 270. So if they do that, then it throws the election results to the House. Hear me out. In today's House of Representatives, they would throw that to the Republican candidate without question. The first time that happens, that the Electoral College defaults to this action, which is what it's designed to do, is the only thing that's going to put the wheels in motion for removing the Electoral College system from our toxic political environment. Because while this time it's the Republicans in the House that would have the momentum on their side to put who they want in, it's not always going to be the case. That there's going to be times where the House is Democrat governed, and the Republicans aren't going to like the fact that now we have an environment from here on forward where there's never going to be a candidate who's going to get 270 because we've got third and fourth party candidates that have enough momentum to pull enough votes from them that it breaks that system. I think that's what I hope happens with these third and fourth party candidates, is it gets a foothold enough to be able to break the 270 rule that from here on out you're never going to see a Democrat or Republican get 270. So the electoral college becomes this thing where you want to talk about our vote being irrelevant, that's where it becomes irrelevant when the House of Representatives decides who the president is. Neither party wants this, because at the point where the Democrats control the House, the Republicans aren't going to like it. At the point where the Republicans control the House, the Democrats aren't going to like it. It's not sustainable. It's the only way we get rid of the Electoral College. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I can't tell you you're wrong. I don't think it's possible, though. Like, yes, we know they're not going to win, but I don't think they're going to win a state. You have to win a state to pull an electoral vote, and I don't know if that's possible. What I do think is possible, because right now the House and the Senate are made up of Democrats and Republicans, and maybe a few independents. Independents have won election before. But where you're going to see a third-party candidate actually in office is in the House. That's possible. Mm-hmm. And I would love to see that happen. What we do actually have, though, third-party candidates that run as Democrats just to get elected. That's happened before.
Yeah.
I mean, Bernie Sanders was literally a Democratic socialist when he was in Vermont. Yep. He changed to a Democrat when he ran for the Senate.
Yep.
So that happens. But I would like to see third-party candidates win some House seats, and that's how we can get the momentum to change something. If a socialist, for example, can win a House seat, or a handful of them can win a House seat, that can eventually grow to where one could win a state in the presidential election. I think we're a long ways away from that. I would love for that to happen, but
okay, I don't know what the numbers are to make something veto proof. They're pretty significant to be a veto proof piece of legislation, so that if there's enough people in Congress that are going to support a piece of legislation that goes to the president and the president decides, no, fuck this, that they kick it back to Congress, there have to be I don't know what the numbers are in Congress to override that veto, but you would have to have enough people, and it wouldn't just be third-party candidates. You'd have to get Democrats and Republicans in Congress on board with legislation to remove the Electoral College system. And it's going to set up a whole fucking litany of legal challenges, even if it passes. But
yeah, veto proof, by the way, is 2/3. So it's 67 senators and I don't know how many House members, but 2/3 of the House. There's 450 some members. I'm not doing that math in my head.
Right, but the electoral college system does not benefit senators in any way. It serves no purpose in the election of members of Congress. It only serves a purpose in the election of the president. So I'm the baseline for this is I'm looking for how do we get rid of the electoral college, and it has to go through Congress. It gets decided through
Or
that.
that pact that several states have signed where they promise to give all their electoral votes to the
Right,
whoever wins the majority,
popular vote, yeah.
the popular vote. That's 20 some states now, isn't it?
It has to be enough states to where it would influence the election. So I don't know how many more states it requires to do that. It's probably a dozen or so more, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, it'd have to be 270 electoral votes worth of states, and I don't think we're there. And you can't count on Texas, which is a lot of electoral votes. You can't count on Florida. I don't know. I don't know if we can get there. I know California signed it. I know New York signed it. Those are the two biggest states outside of Texas.
Yeah, and I wonder if you're writing off preemptively these other states, and those are big electoral chunks like Ohio. I don't think Ohio would do it. Ohio's a big chunk. That is in fact the other way to eliminate the electoral college. Not eliminate it, but circumvent it.
Make it irrelevant.
Yeah. So I don't know which way we get there then. I don't know which way is actually more feasible, because if the holdouts across the country in terms of states are holding enough electoral votes that if every other state voted for this compact, that it still wouldn't kick in because of the holdouts, then the whole thing becomes an exercise in futility. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I don't think any states that traditionally would elect a Republican would ever sign that. And that's so. Can you get, and swing states probably wouldn't either, because swing states tend to have Republican-led, assemblies or Congress or whatever they call them in various states. I don't know. We have an assembly here. New York has an assembly. I don't know about other states. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be nice if you could get 270 electoral votes worth of states to sign it. I don't know how far away from that we are, but there's not 270 electoral votes of blue states, and that's what you would need. And there just isn't. You'd have to get some swing states to sign it.
Yeah, it's
but swing states can move blue. Like Pennsylvania has always been a swing state, but the last couple of elections, it's been very blue. In fact, our assembly, for the first time in 20 some years, is Democrat controlled presently. So,
well, I saw an article. I didn't read it. I saw the headline, and for some reason it stuck in my head. Something about Trump flipping Minnesota. Minnesota has traditionally been Democrat in terms of how it votes, but apparently there's some noise about it flipping to Republican this time, which, what the fuck?
Yeah, here's the thing. Nobody knows, because you don't know who's going to show up to vote. You can count the registered Democrats and the registered Republicans and assume they're going to vote one way or the other. You don't know how independents are going to vote. They're the ones that really, there's more of them than there are Democrats and Republicans combined. So independents, or at least people who are registered independent, are the ones who really decide those national elections.
Yeah, I think voter turnout this time around is going to be abysmal.
I think so too. I'm going to vote. I want to vote for Malcolm Kenyatta. That's who ran against Fetterman for the Senate seat that he eventually won in the primary. He's from Philadelphia. He's in the state house or state senate. I don't know which, but he's running for attorney general, and I want to vote for him. He's openly gay. He's a person of color. I like him. I want to vote for him. I don't know if I'm going to vote for anyone else on the ballot. I really don't.
Yeah. Oof. All right, on to meme stocks, and
Yeah, let's get lighthearted.
my Robinhood account is not popping off the way I expected it to after the halving of Bitcoin, but
Yeah, this bull run's been different than the previous ones. But nothing's crashing. It's all just kind of going sideways.
true. True.
But yeah, meme stocks. So a couple years ago, you might remember they made a movie about it where in the Wall Street Bets subreddit, a person who goes by the name Roaring Kitty got everybody to buy GameStop stock. He owned a lot of shares of it. I think if I remember correctly, he had about $100,000 invested into GameStop. But through getting retail investors in the Wall Street Bets subreddit to invest in GameStop, price went up so much he's worth $32 million now, the last I checked. So, but that was a fun ride when that happened. If you remember, AMC also got on that road, and there was a couple others. Like I think Nokia even at one point was one of the ones that people were buying.
Yep.
But anyway, after that all died down, they changed some of the rules because the market makers, the hedge funds that were shorting GameStop, lost billions.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that make the rules of the game, so they kind of changed the rules a little bit to sort of prevent that from happening again. And Roaring Kitty disappeared from social media. Like he just disappeared. He didn't have anything to say. He didn't participate in the subreddit anymore. He didn't tweet anymore until last week. He tweeted for the first time in 3 years. He just tweeted a picture of a person staring at a computer screen intently. That's what he posted. Nothing else. And instantly, GameStop stock went up 80% and AMC stock went up 100%. People was like, oh my God, Roaring Kitty made a tweet. Let's all buy all those meme stocks again.
So whatever protections the hedge funds put in place apparently aren't very effective, because if that can influence it to this degree.
Yeah, well, the initial thing, what happened was it was GameStop mostly. He noticed that there were a bunch of hedge funds that had a lot of short positions on the stock, so which means they're betting on the stock to go down. And he did the math, and he's like, hey, we can liquidate all these shorts. Liquidate means the price goes up so high that you can't afford to pay the premium on your short position anymore, and it automatically gets closed out and the brokerage takes your money. And that's what happened. That's what happened. He did the math. He explained it to everybody in the subreddit, and they're like, let's do it. So millions of people, probably, I don't know, hundreds of thousands at least, were all buying GameStop stock, and they drove the price up enough to liquidate all those short positions. I think the rules they changed was how big short positions can be. I don't think the short positions are as big. I don't know if anybody got liquidated in this. But yeah, if you had some options, you could have made a ton of money, but if you just bought some stock and hold, you doubled it. Anyway, so that was interesting. It's funny how it is true that retail investors, if they band together, can beat the market. They can. Because if I'm being honest, GameStop and AMC are not good stocks. They're not great companies. They don't deserve the stock price they have. But in the mantra of the Wall Street Bets, I like the stock. I like the stock.
Well, I think because I do all of my stupid crypto and shit on Robinhood, which I know is dumb on my part, but that's what I do. One of the things when the whole Dogecoin and AMC and GameStop thing kicked off back in, what was that, 2020, 21?
Yeah.
That Robinhood instituted new rules that prevented people like me, when we hit like really big, from selling off.
And they stopped trading several times during that whole run up.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah, they got a lot of criticism for that at the time. I don't know. I used Robinhood too until that happened, and then I deleted my. I use Tasty Trade now.
Tasty trade.
Yeah, well, I use that for my stock trading. I use Coinbase for crypto usually.
Yeah. Oh, keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
If
All right.
if my
We've
crypto
talked about
my
oh, yeah,
crypto
go
doesn't
ahead.
pop off soon, I'm going to put a hit out on you. So just I'm putting
On
that
me?
out there. Yeah.
On me? Not financial advice, buddy. I said it. I'm sure I said it. Allegedly, in my opinion, not financial advice.
Yeah, I edited that part out, so you're on the hook.
All right. In other news, we talked about this before. The Orcas sank another yacht this week
Yay, Team Orca.
off the coast of Morocco. I love it. I want the Orcas to do more damage. I think that's great. It's fantastic. Nobody was hurt, which I'm also okay with. I don't necessarily want people to die. Well, you know.
Well, I haven't seen since this first came out. I don't know if there's been any instance where a human being has lost their life because of orcas
No.
damaging property. But
No, they realize the boat is sinking and they get rescued.
Yep. How
That's
much
what
longer
happens.
before we see a police presence on these yachts? Because damaging property is much more important than damaging human life. So the cops are going to be beating the shit out of orcas with their shitty little batons and their riot gear. God, that'd be great if the orcas could walk on land and join our protests. That'd be the end of it.
Yeah, it would. It would be great.
So we had, segueing into weather-related news, we're having gnarly weather right now, but we were in that tornado warning shit that was going on that hit Houston, and people just don't know how to behave in this stuff. It's ridiculous.
No, but I'm sure you've noticed storms are getting stronger and more frequent. Are you noticing that?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's climate change happening. And as it happens more, you're going to get places that don't normally get tornadoes are going to start getting tornadoes. And I've already seen some of the most incredible tornado footage. People that don't know how dangerous they are, and they just go outside with their phone and start filming the tornadoes from not far enough away.
Yep.
Don't do that, but also thank you for doing that because the videos are awesome. And I think we're going to see more of those. We're going to see more of those. The one I'm specifically referencing is this guy was filming a tornado with his phone, and then he yelled to somebody. I don't know if it was his wife or his son or his daughter or somebody, his friend. He goes, "Hey, get out of the car. You got to come see this." Look, if you're in a car, I think that's probably safer than being out of the car in a tornado. Is that correct? I don't know, but I feel like it is.
It seems like it.
I know you're supposed to be in a basement or an interior room with no windows if you can, but yeah. And then he films this tornado, and there's stuff blowing around, and it does not look safe at all. I hope he's alive still, but the video is incredible. It's an awesome video. So I think we're gonna see more of that. Is people who are unaware of how dangerous tornadoes really are.
Yeah, it's not the
and then going outside to film them.
Yeah, it's not the tornado that kills you. It's the cow that's spinning around in the tornado that hits you that kills you. That's people don't.
That's right. Or the wood or the metal or who knows. I mean, all kinds of stuff is flying at hundreds of miles an hour.
Yep.
Through the air.
I don't know. Climate change is a hoax, though, right?
Yeah, sure is.
These are the people who think that. I encourage you to get out there and experience your tornado firsthand. And then
just film it for the rest of us too.
Yeah. We won't have to hear from you anymore.
Allegedly.
Oh, Lord.
In his opinion.
So, quick look at the Google News feed to see if there's anything that we missed. First thing on there is the widespread power outages from deadly Houston storm. Slovakian Prime Minister there was an attempted assassination. I don't know anything about that. Just throwing it out there.
I just know that when they initially reported it, they said he was in grave condition, which to me means you're supposed to be on death's door, right? Grave condition means you're not going to make it. Yeah. And then the next day he was stabilized and was going to be fine. So I don't
know. Did you see where there was a story that, and it was misreported because what it should have said was Barron Trump was invited to be a delegate in Florida?
Yeah.
Okay. which was quickly followed up by a statement from his people saying, "No, I have other obligations. I'm not doing this." So that was that was stupid. But the other thing on here is Trump at Barron's graduation. Don't give a fuck.
Delegates have always been pretty much a ceremonial position. You just say who you're a delegate for,
Yeah.
and if that person wins, you ceremoniously sign the thing and say, "There we go. There's who I voted for."
Yeah, it's
until this recent election where a bunch of delegates tried to the candidate didn't win. They tried to sign a thing and pretend like he won anyway. That's the first time they've ever done anything outside of the ceremonial position. So.
Yeah, and it's always a quid pro quo. Whoever's appointed as a delegate is owed something, so it's a quid pro quo. Backtracking onto the Trump-Biden debates, apparently according to the New York Post, Trump demands a drug test for Biden before first presidential debate.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'd like to see Trump take a drug test because there's a lot of people that worked on his TV show that are claiming that he was abusing Adderall.
Yep. Not just
I'd
his
like to see
TV show, but his staffers when he was fucking president.
Yeah, so I'd like to see him take a drug test then. That's fine.
Yeah. Oh, the Israeli military finds bodies of 3 hostages in Gaza. So
yeah, I saw that.
Killed by Israeli bombing.
There was also an article or news this week that 5 Israeli soldiers were killed by friendly fire this week.
Amen.
In a single incident.
Those are good numbers. That's a good start. Let's keep it up.
Allegedly. In his opinion.
Yeah, I got the rest of the Google News feed is pretty weak, and it's stuff we've covered. So I think we did our job this week.
Excellent. It's always good. Job well done is always good.
Yes. And so
what are you doing the rest of today?
Any predictions for what you think we're going to be talking about next week? What's on?
I think Trump's trial might go to the jury, or at least get the defense's case. We can talk about that. I don't know what's going to happen in the Middle East, but stuff will happen. And who knows?
Yeah, I don't feel like there's too much that is pending that's out of the ordinary. I'm sure there will be a curveball in there somewhere that we weren't expecting. And
we haven't talked about Ukraine and Russia that much lately. It's kind of fallen out of the news, but that's still happening.
And I see a lot of footage and stories of Ukrainian gains, and like I've seen the most recent footage, these drone jet skis basically that Ukraine has been using to sink large fucking like missile boats and destroyers off of Crimea are being very effective. They've used those for quite a few months. But these remotely operated jet skis packed with explosives are very good at dodging the anti-ship gunfire coming from these ships. And I've seen some footage of a large missile carrier being sunk off the coast of Crimea. So they're being, it's a back and forth. And then I saw footage of, I think it was a storage depot in Crimea, again, being hit by long-range ATACMS, the long-range missiles that we've provided. And it's funny to me that when the whole Ukraine thing started, Biden was just constantly coming back in response to, public outcry to supply Ukraine with what they need. No, it's going to start World War III. Do you want the whole World War III mantra was being beaten to death? And today what we're providing Ukraine goes way beyond what anybody was asking Biden to provide when the whole thing broke out. And Russia's just sitting there. They haven't done a goddamn thing about it.
I saw a headline today that Zelensky is asking the U.S. to help them hit targets inside of Russia. which they've been doing. They've done a little bit of that.
Yep. They've been doing it without U.S. intel.
Yeah, so Zelensky publicly asked for our help to do more of that. That's an escalation. I don't know.
I think I have
But
to.
World War III is not going to be NATO versus Russia. That's not World War III. It's only World War III if China and, you know, other countries join on Russia's side, and I don't know that they will.
Yeah, I don't think they. I don't think they would. I think, God, how would that play out? But I think if I have to assume that if their proof comes out that the U.S. is providing intel for Ukrainian strikes inside Russia, that's going to change the game for Russia. Russia's going to have to do something, not escalate things against Ukraine, but they're going to have to. God, they're going to have to do something against a U.S. asset in response to that, and then there's the obvious escalation from there. But I don't see other countries running into, other than Belarus. Belarus will be on Russia's team with this.
Yeah,
but
maybe Turkey. I don't know. Erdogan, and they're in NATO, but Erdogan is he kind of likes Putin.
he's a fickle bitch. But Zelensky's met with him a number of times, and he's towed the NATO line. So I don't know. I think
I want to share something locally that shows it has to do with the Russia-Ukraine war. So I live in a Rust Belt city, Erie, Pennsylvania, and I think most Rust Belt cities, when they had immigration in the late 1800s, they got ethnic neighborhoods from European immigrants, and then there's churches specific to them. I like that we have that here. We have a Russian church and a German church and a Greek church, and they in the summer they all have festivals with their culture and food and stuff, and I love going to those. They're fun.
Yep.
But there's a Ukrainian church here, and churches around here are shrinking. Church attendance is way down, and there are empty churches around town. But the Ukrainian church in town is looking for a bigger church because of refugees from Ukraine, from the Russia-Ukraine war that have come here. So they've outgrown their current church and are looking for a bigger one.
So is that like an Orthodox church?
Yeah, Russian Orthodox.
Yeah.
When I went to school in my 30s here in Erie, there was a classmate of mine that was also a non-traditional student, and she was from Ukraine.
Yeah, one of the tech sergeants, well, she just retired recently, but I've been working with her since 2017. She's from Ukraine. She's got Ukrainian flags and babushka nesting dolls on her desk. And yeah, she's very Ukrainian. So
I will say that's one thing I like about this city I live in. We've been a sanctuary city for immigrants. There's a lot of Somali immigrants here. And it's weird, but you can see I'm a big guy. A lot of them make restaurants, and over the last 10 years, our diversity of restaurants and ethnic restaurants has exploded, and I love it.
Yeah, that's what I liked about living in northern Vermont, because we had a large Somali immigrant population there, but the restaurant scene in northern Vermont, like a Burlington area, is fucking phenomenal. It was one of the best places to live for me if you're into like good food, and it was definitely. And it wasn't just Somali, but there were the number of Vietnamese restaurants and the number of Thai restaurants and things like that were just off the hook. It was fantastic.
Yeah, like we had Chinese restaurants. There was a Thai restaurant here. It's been a long time, and an couple Indian restaurants. But now we have Middle Eastern restaurants. There's African restaurants. I opened up DoorDash, and it's amazing the different, like just in the last 10 years. It's great. I mean, it's unfortunate that they're all refugees from conflict in their home countries, but I do like that my city decided to give them a place to come to, and I feel like I'm benefiting directly from it because my menu in the city has increased exponentially, and I love it.
Very nice. So let's wrap on this. My local news feed, the top story is Navarre, which is a city next to mine. Navarre man caught masturbating at church.
Awesome.
I don't have anything else.
I'm guessing that wasn't a drag queen, right? Or a trans person.
I'll insert the photo, the mugshot. If he's a drag queen, he's a really shitty one. Took his pants off and started yanking it right there in the church and got arrested. Ooh, I wouldn't want to be the cop arresting that.
I don't know what, I can't imagine what the erotic impetus was in church to get I can't imagine.
Wait a minute. You don't have a Jesus kink?
Is that a thing?
Am I the only one? Oh shit. We got to edit this out. Yeah, I will insert his mugshot into this piece, and that will wrap our segment for this week. And
all right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I was told we have to do a formal sign off this week. So here we go.
We're doing it. Adios.
I've been Matt. That's been James. We're still going to be there next week. But we're done for this week. This has been the Leftist Lens.
All right. Have a good week, y'all.